Good evening, and thank you for joining Down the Rabbit Hole with KD. Sorry for coming in a little bit later today, but we had so many technical difficulties, so many things going on. But tonight, my guest is Monica James, public servant and advocate for Black and Brown trans women. And
And cis
due
women, all
to
women,
all women,
all women, children, fathers, sons, daughters, grandparents, grandmothers,
all women.
ancestors. We all in this together.
Amen. Amen. And so
Mhm.
we had a forum of questions to talk about, and due to technical difficulties, we don't even know what that is. So Monica and I said we're just gonna go with it. Amen. So we're
Let's
going
go
to
with it.
church tonight, hence the hat. All right, let's get it cracking. So Monica, tell me and my viewers who you are.
So, my name is Monica James. I am the talented, innovative daughter of Black parents. I come from a background of slaves. My grandmother, that I know of, was working for a non Black person back in the early 70s.
Mm-hmm.
She was doing maid services. My grandfather was a veteran of World War II.
Okay.
That's my father's father. My mother, my grandmother on my father's side, she is said to have been part Cha-Cha from the Cha-Cha Indian tribe.
Okay.
Um, uh-huh. She was from Mississippi down, I believe, by Clark or something like that. I'm not very
Mm-hmm.
sure.
Mm-hmm.
But I do know that our uncles and aunties tell us that our grandmother was part Indian. She had Indian in her family. My
Okay.
grandfather, just a regular Black man, born in the South. Lots of
Mm-hmm.
brothers. And then my mother's mother, part Cherokee
Mm-hmm.
and Black.
Mm-hmm.
And my grandfather on my mother's side, I'm not aware of him. I never met him before. So I am this woman that's on this journey of healing empowerment. Um, and for me, healing empowerment, first of all, I have to know myself. I got to locate
Mm-hmm.
myself.
Mm-hmm.
I got to be healthy within myself, and that alone puts me on this quest because as a Black woman from the South, I don't really know my background like that. I don't know who my
Mm-hmm.
ancestors are like that.
Mm-hmm.
It's so much to be told because the trauma runs deep. So
Mm-hmm.
I've seen my trauma, I've seen my violence, domestic violence, I've seen hints of sexual violence, I have seen discrimination, I have seen
Mm-hmm.
community violence, and I have given some too because I didn't run when they came knocking at my door talking about they wanted to fight me
Mm-hmm.
because I was the only sissy on the block and all that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I was the
Mm-hmm.
faggot. I was gay as fuck. I know you remember times when we were practicing a routine to do a dance for a wedding. We were gonna do Mahalia Jack. No, not Mahalia Jackson's
Tina
Tremaine
Marie.
Hawkins. Tremaine Hawkins. Lord, I
Uh-huh.
tried.
Right.
And
Yeah.
so you remember?
I remember. Yeah.
So yes, I've been gay as hell all my life, and
Mm-hmm.
my parents, my mom's still with us today. My father's deceased,
Mm-hmm.
but my mom and my father they were very loving and accepting of me as much as I
Mm-hmm.
would let them
Mm-hmm.
because I had a lot of things going on with me,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
figuring out things about my gender identity, figuring out things about being Black, figuring out things about my community, the things that I'm experiencing in my community, as well as even in my household.
Mhm.
And yeah, let's go back to time. I remember having I'm kind of off. I need to come over here.
And
So
you know what? I love the hat, but it's taken away from your face. I can't see your face. It's taken
you
away
can't
from the
see
light.
my face. Cause girl,
Yeah, I
you
want to
said
see
go
your
to
face.
church. You said go to church. I was
There we
like, I
go.
go to church with you,
Show us
Kay.
that beat. Show us that beat. Come on, baby. I love it. I love it. Yes, yes. Come
Have a
on.
good
Yes.
time.
Yeah, yeah.
So yeah,
Okay.
I've had my incidents. I've been criminalized over
Mhm.
20 plus years.
Mhm.
I was kicked out of high school in my senior year for transitioning.
Okay.
I was literally kicked out on the first day. They were like, "You're a distraction to all the students. You're just a distraction to the establishment." And
Wow.
yeah, that was what it was like for me. And, growing up gay and black, I'm just going to say gay, you know,
Mhm.
and I like to do a disclaimer before we go further. I don't like using all these divisive identities because at the end of the day, I am who I am. There's nothing that can be done about it. And it's my duty to be the best who I am. And
Mhm.
the rest is history. So I really don't like using all the terminology like trans, gay, black,
Okay.
Baptist, Christian. I don't really like to get into that because once we start identifying with that, the moment that I start saying, because I'm black, I'm trans, then I got two or three, five, six other people saying, well, what about me? What about what I want? So
Right.
at the end of the day, we're all just human. And I like to kind of
Exactly.
keep it that way. And we all deserve to be free. We all
Mhm.
deserve to be safe. We all deserve
Mhm.
to have access to education, to the
Mhm.
healthcare system that is just and complete and complete.
Amen.
Uh-huh.
Amen.
And definitely we deserve to be able to bear arms. We deserve to be able to bear arms. We
I
deserve to
know
be
that's
able to
right.
protect ourselves.
I know that's right.
Yes.
Your bio says that you are from the west side of Chicago. Where do you reside now?
So right now I'm in outside of Orlando, Florida.
Okay. Okay.
Hmm.
But so tell us about your experience growing up on the west side. They say the west side is the best side. No matter
Really?
where you at. They say the west side is the best side, no matter where you from. And there's always this thing in Chicago, like what they say, we got up north, out west, over east, out south, and clearly there are, and we talk about these differences, like you up north win, you out west win, you out south win, you over east win. So
Okay.
tell my viewers and our viewers a little bit about the west side of Chicago and how it was growing up on the west side of Chicago.
So growing up on the West Side during the 70s and early 80s, for me, it was you had to be aware of your surroundings. I was
Mm-hmm.
robbed at the age of 9. I went to the store
Wow.
and somebody robbed me.
At gunpoint.
Not at gunpoint, but
Oh,
hell,
okay.
they might as well. They scared the shit out of me. I was only 9.
Yeah, yeah.
And I also remember too being in a community that when my mother and father was away, that didn't mean that I was left alone. I had a whole community, a whole block
Mhm.
that had eyes on me. And, I went to church with a family on my block every Sunday. Every summer, we participated in summer Bible school.
Mhm.
I remember going skating at the YMCA. I remember doing baseball camp. So I remember
Mm.
having a childhood on the West Side that was very, very, very loving and supportive. But I also
Mhm.
remember on the growing up on the West Side, whereas I saw brutal violence. I
Mhm.
witnessed a woman be murdered in the streets.
Really?
Yeah, she was stabbed to death, beat in the head with a bat. So I
Wow.
do remember that. I remember seeing families come out of their house in an all out brawl. I
Mhm.
remember that. And
Mhm.
I remember seeing some gay people back in my day. And it was known in the community that you didn't want to mess with them because one of them carried a hammer in their purse. So they carried that hammer as their protection. So it was violence
Mhm.
back then, but it was also a time where you could literally fight it out with somebody.
Yeah.
You can
Yeah.
go toe to toe with somebody and then it's
Mhm.
over with. So
Mhm.
I remember those times, and those times that's where I got my foundation. But I also too remember being a child sitting in school because of the violence that I seen. And for the greater part of that day, my only thoughts was the violence that I witnessed before coming to
Mhm.
school.
Mhm.
And I would just sit there for hours and hours and daydream, honestly, because I was so traumatized by the violence that I witnessed.
Mhm. Mhm. You mentioned. I like when you said earlier. You said I've been gay as hell all my life.
I have.
And do you remember? Because this is something that is not talked about a lot. Do you remember your first encounter of saying that you liked men or you were interested in the same sex as you? Like, was it always? Was it always like that, or do you have some recollection of you like girls at one time or you didn't, or what can we talk about that just a little bit?
We can. I think that back then, I remember in the fifth grade, kind of being the person that was, I was feeling myself. I was checking myself out, like, checking out my routine because I had a routine at 5 years old.
Mm-hmm.
6 because my birthday is in December, so I started school at 6. But I
Okay.
remember at 6 years old, I would catch the bus from my house to Paderewski, which was like a good skip and a hop around by I do. I remember catching that bus home and to school. And I also remember too being confronted by a man in a station wagon that to this day I do believe it was John Wayne Gacy. Honest to God.
Really?
I
Really?
do. Yes, I do.
Really?
Yes,
Because he
yes.
was in now that's interesting because he was in the west suburbs, right? He lived
Exactly.
in the
And
west suburbs and he was oh my god. And he was encountering uh
black.
young
Yeah,
black boys in that time. Tell us about that. Now we on a whole nother level.
yeah,
Tell me
well, I
about that.
remember I remember this man pulling up to me as I was standing on the bus stop. And so
Wow.
my kindergarten teacher also caught that bus home. So when I would be coming in the morning, I would come in the morning by myself with the probably the same routine of people that was catching that bus at that time.
Mm-hmm.
But
Mm-hmm.
every day at 2:30, 2:40, 2:35, I would be on that bus stop with my teacher. And
Okay.
so when he pulled up on me and told me to get in, my teacher was there. And I went
Wow.
to my teacher. I went to my teacher and
Wow.
I clung to
So
my
you already know we gonna do a story, right? I escaped John Wayne.
honestly, no
You
shit.
already know we're gonna do that one, right?
Let's do it.
Soon as we get off this live, you and I are gonna have a conversation. Cause I don't think you've ever told me that, or maybe you did and I just missed it. I've never heard that. Do you
Yes,
know? So what
I
did he
do
say to
know.
you? What did he
Huh?
say to you? What did he
He
say
he,
to you?
he told me get in. He was gonna take me home, and I was like, mm-mm. So I didn't even say nothing. I just started to
Wow.
move closer to my teacher. And her name was Miss Wilcox. She was a much older lady. She was very, very
Wow.
sweet. And I clung to her, and to this day, I still remember that. I remember that so vividly. But it wasn't until I was in the seventh grade that I actually realized that I had an attraction for boys.
Okay.
I was interested in males. I was in the seventh grade. I had my crush, just like any other person. I was very much closeted. I didn't know anything about
Mhm.
being closeted, but
Mhm.
I was very much keeping that secret from my family,
Yeah.
from community. It was
Yeah.
everybody said that. Well, they used to call me Pumpkin, and they were like, "Well, Pumpkin is just the sweetest child. I want to
Mhm.
adopt Pumpkin. Jonetta, you should allow me to adopt Pumpkin. Pumpkin is just the sweetest."
Yeah.
And that's just how I shield that confusion that was
Mm.
going on in me, because and I use the words confusion very seriously, because it was definitely confusion for me hearing and witnessing one and only type of identity, which is girl, boy. And
Right.
when you start dating, you get you a girlfriend, you have a girlfriend, you get you a wife, and different things like that. And
Mhm.
and opposite for my sisters and my girl cousins and stuff like that. But it was in the seventh grade that I really realized that I did have an attraction for males. But prior to seventh grade, I had already been molested.
Okay. Do you think that that played a role by that being I and the reason why I'm asking is because I have a theory that usually your first sexual encounter kind of sets the tone for um your status for what you like, because here's the tricky part about molestation, um and I can get with you on that. Because I understand because of my sexual abuse and molestation as a child too. So
Oh,
there's a theory that I have that usually that first encounter, even in molestation and even in incestation, there is
mhm,
some type of pleasure.
mhm,
Not saying that you like it, not saying that you want it, not saying that you are welcoming it, but
exactly.
somewhere in that, because it's still sex,
Mhm.
somewhere in that, there is something that is pleasurable. And do you think that that played a role in your sexuality? Do you think that if you've never had that experience, that you will be heterosexual, or do you think that you will still feel the same way?
Well, I like to answer that by saying, so I have a few things that I like to reimagine, since we're going to reimagine that
Yeah,
moment.
yeah.
And I would like to say first that my first thought was that something bad happened.
What
Something,
happened? What
right.
happened?
What
If you're comfortable, can you please tell us about that experience? Who was it? Where were you? What was happening? What
Well, that
happened?
part I really don't want to do. I wouldn't want. It was, I really wouldn't want to drag a person, a family down the drain
Are they
for.
still alive?
I don't even know, because I don't even have
Okay.
contact with them like that. But
Okay.
I really wouldn't want to drag someone down like that for something that happened in the past like that.
Understood. Understood.
And because I have come to a place that in my journey, whatever life became, it is what it is. I can't go
Mm-hmm.
back and undo it. I got to move forward with it. And
Mm-hmm.
also too, the time to be processing it, like, with identifying this person and calling this person out, is like you do that when it's right in the moment. So, like, say for
Right.
instance, this shit happened to me 5 minutes before going on set, 24
Right.
hours prior to going on set. I would, then that's the time that if you're going to do something like that, like you're
Right.
breaking your silence, you want to receive accountability. Maybe you have already went through the steps of trying to receive accountability and it fell on deaf ears.
Mhm.
And so
Mhm.
now you're going on, say for instance, this type of platform. Then yeah.
Okay.
But because the shit happened so many years ago, and I've
Mhm.
already been through the trials, the tribulations, the rejections, and all that, because that's only one part of my life. That's only one thing. And then again, who I am today is just who I am. I got to move
Mhm.
forward. And
Mhm.
I can tell you this, that the trauma for me was so very harsh, like, because it was nobody to talk to about it. Like,
Yeah.
how do you talk to people about these things? And how do you talk to, and let's be real, how do you talk to someone in the Black community about
True.
having sex with the same sex?
Right.
You
Right.
know what I'm saying? Just go.
Yeah. No. And how old were you when the molestation took place?
I believe I was 9. I believe I was,
Okay.
because I can't even remember how old I was actually,
Mhm. Mhm.
because of the trauma of what happened. Like, I
Yeah.
can't even remember how old I was. But I
Wow.
know that I was hiding. I know that I was afraid. I know that I was scared. And it was a heavy responsibility for me to walk around, excuse me, to walk around holding this burden. This adult put this burden on me.
Come on. Yes.
You see
Yes.
what I'm saying?
Oh, it was an
I was a
adult.
child.
It was an adult.
Exactly. This was an
Mm.
adult. We're not talking about teenagers, youths experimenting and doing all kinds of shit when their parents are away. They got free time to themselves. Come on,
This is
let's
a
keep it real.
grown man.
This was a
Mm.
grown adult who did this, and so for me, I took on a burden that,
Yeah.
if you want to get down to it, that's what I want to talk about. How the hell was I selected to take on this burden?
Man, I get it. And was it something that happened like once? Was it repeated? Was it?
Oh, it happened. It happened. It was a repeated situation.
Mm,
Because again, this household was somebody that was trusted to keep me, care for me, while
mm.
my family said, okay, I want to step out this weekend. And we want you to keep Punkin. Can you take care of Punkin? Oh yeah, Punkin is gonna be good. No, all good. And this happened to me. So, and one thing too that really bothered me when I got older and I was able to talk to my parents about that was the
Mm.
hurt that my mom and my dad,
Yeah. Yeah.
my
Yeah.
mom and
How?
my dad felt hurt.
Yeah, absolutely. Because they trusted. Um, you trust people. You know what I'm saying? You trust people, and that is so many people's stories. So many people. I guarantee you, 9 out of 10 times, when you
Hmm.
talk to someone who was molested, I have yet to hear somebody say. And I know it happens at school, it happens at church, it happens whatever. But it's hardly ever a a stranger, b a non-family member, and
Hmm.
c someone obviously that you do not trust, and it's because the parents have left the child with
Yes.
someone. That was my story. My mother been in school my whole life. She
Okay.
just stopped not too long ago because she got her doctorate. So I guess that's the highest of whatever. Only thing she can do now is go back and get another doctorate. That's it, or another bachelor's in something else. But my mother worked. She was a single parent, so she
Hmm.
worked her entire life. My mother. I've only seen my mother do two things, three things in life: work, go to school, and go to church. Anything else, and a partying, and she went to parties and stuff but I'm saying her main thing was work, school, and church. And so she left me, at her sister's house. And
Mhm.
she left me at my grandmother's house. And she left
Exactly.
me at my aunt's house. And she left me at my uncle's house. You know what I'm saying? And these are all her family members, her sister-in-law, her sister, her brother, just different people. But that's everyone's story. Because and I can imagine as a parent, even now, and another thing is that sometimes parents don't talk to their children. They don't say,
Mhm.
hey, this ain't what's supposed to happen. This is not da da da, because you don't think like that. But because of my experience,
Uh-huh.
every time my child, and there, as a single parent, I too had to leave my children certain places. But before my kids left and before they went anywhere, I talked to my babies and I told them,
Mhm.
and I said, I said, look, there are some dangerous people out here. You understand what I'm
Mhm.
saying? And
Mhm.
they will do this to children. Your penis does not belong in a woman's mouth or a man's mouth. His penis
Mhm.
does not belong in yours, in any hole that you have on your body.
Exactly.
And this is my daughter and my son, because it's not.
Exactly.
We always think that it's men molesting little girls. It's some vicious women out here too. It's
I
some vicious,
agree.
nasty, low down, dirty women out here too. So I told my daughter, and they're not just praying on the opposite sex; they're praying as we're listening on the same sex. So the story was the same for both of my kids. Hey, your vagina don't belong in someone else's mouth, or and their vagina don't belong in yours. Period. And
I
don't let
agree.
them tell you that they're gonna kill. Don't let them tell you that this is our little secret. Tell them you ain't got no secrets. Don't allow them to tell. I swear, I said, don't allow them to tell you that they're gonna kill your mama, because they ain't nobody gonna kill me.
That's
Tell
right.
them F you, and I want to call my mama, and call me, and it's going down. And my children, and even to this day, and every time they would come from somewhere, I would ask them, was it any funny business going on? Did you feel any type of,
Mhm.
or did anybody do this? Did anybody do that? They was like, no, ma, it was cool. That one time my daughter said, why you always asking us when we do that? Because I gotta know. Because I want to know. Because I didn't tell her then. Because it happened to me. Because this, that, and the third. So we just do
Mhm.
that. I'm sorry to go on this little rant and rave, but I'm very
God.
passionate about that.
Well,
I'm passionate about that thing.
and because we're there, I like to end it on a good note, because
Mhm.
that was a deep layer to touch. And
Mhm.
so, you know, what would I what was my takeaway from
Mhm.
that experience?
Mhm.
Because that experience has happened to me as an adult.
Okay.
I've been
Okay.
sexually assaulted as an adult.
Okay. Let's
Yes,
talk about that.
I've been sexually assaulted as an adult woman. Of course, there's a trauma, because the thing that I remember seeing earlier when we first started the conversation, I don't remember what age
Mm.
that I was when that happened,
Mhm.
and so that's, for me, that is the key. See, that's key. That's an identifier
Right.
about the trauma. And so if it happened the way the molestation usually doesn't happen as violent and brutal as a rape can.
Mm.
And so
Okay.
when you think about being raped, you think about the violence and the violation of the temple.
Right.
And
Exactly.
so that trauma, and like I said, I didn't remember then what age I was. I remember that it happened. But for when women when not even just women, when people are raped, the trauma. And I like to say that in the Black household, I have, we were riding down the street on the west side one night coming from picking my mom up, and a Black woman ran from between the train tracks, like, the viaduct. So
Mhm.
she ran from one end of the train track, and you know how those bushes would always be. surrounding the viaduct, make it look
Yeah.
real dark and creepy. Well, this
Mhm.
woman ran out one night, just like shot out of there, and she was naked and she was screaming, "Help! Help! 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 Help!"
Wow.
So this woman was viciously raped outside, and we know that there are families that have family incest. We know that
Mhm.
sexual violations of women and children, we know that it was plentiful
Oh
in
yes.
in the day, you know?
Mhm.
And
And
the
it
people,
still is. It
and
still
it
is.
still is. And the thing about it is that that trauma is never addressed, if that trauma is never addressed, there's a great portion of a person's life that they
Mhm.
really can't even account for.
That's the truth. That is the truth. And what I have learned from my research, because I'm writing a book called The Wednesday Addams Complex.
You keep
The
mentioning that. You keep mentioning the Wednesday Adams complex.
It's the psychological aftermath of childhood sexual abuse and trauma. And
Mhm.
um, the theory is that something, Wednesday Adams was this perfect little girl. Yeah, she grew up in this little, kooky family. But if when we watch the Adams family, Wednesday Adams was completely out of her mind, and
Okay.
there was a lot of sexual undertones that was going on with Wednesday Adams. Even
Okay.
things like between her and her brother. She was always left alone. It's a whole theory I have behind it. But during my research, I
Mhm.
found that a lot of children who are sexually abused a lot of times develop alternate personalities
Mm.
because they're dealing with this trauma. Watch this. For those who have been sodomized, when a child is sodomized, um, there is a rush because of the pain. It goes all the way. The blood rushes all the way up to their face, and
Mhm.
depending on the impact of the sodomizing, sometimes the blood will come here to their eyes, and so we'll see children a lot of times when they go to the police station and they are identified, they have what they call panda eyes because the
Mhm.
blood is just here. So because of that trauma, there is like a certain what's the word I'm looking for? A certain chemical that is released that
Mm.
comes to their brain, and because of the trauma, they have to split that thing in half in order to deal with what is happening to them, in order to deal with the pain, especially if it's something that is going, or if this is a continual thing. But even if it's not, if they in order to deal with it, a lot of times they'll split that personality right away because this character can deal with this and that character cannot.
And
I
sodomization, you use the word sodomize, right?
hmm
Now, sodomization, now, how are you using that word? Like,
In other words, if a man uh inserts his penis into a child's anal or butt
okay,
behind. That's how I'm using that. That's how I'm
okay.
using that as far as that is concerned. Now, but even when it comes to women molesting kids or doing something, there's still a certain trauma, there's still a certain something, but it's
Mhm.
not as prevalent according to research. This ain't
Okay.
me. According to research, it's not as prevalent as those who were sodomized.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
Mm.
that's just the theory that they usually have alternate personalities or alternate characters because they can't deal with that, you know.
Mm.
So
Mm.
I found that very interesting. I really, really did.
And would you say that that sodomization theory, or the facts that this person, the research that this person shared around it, sending the blood so high, and so is that the same? Would we be able to say that that's the same for like female and male?
Absolutely.
And little girl being, having her vaginal, like her
Same
virginity
thing.
taken from her.
I just
Same
used
way.
same way. I just used sodomization just because
Okay.
that was what they researched. But I would absolutely say the same thing. The same thing. If a little
Mm-hmm.
girl it has been penetrated, or even I've been in the hospital. One time I was in the hospital. I was at um what's the hospital on 70 on Stony Island?
Oh,
Um,
Jackson Park.
I was at Jackson Park Hospital one time, and this man brought in this 9 month old baby that was being, yeah, it still takes my breath away. A 9 month old baby that
Mm.
was being, that was having, a man was having sex with his 9 month old baby. And the
Oh, wow.
baby, and let me tell you something about that baby. That baby was sitting there like a gangster, like, shit.
Wow.
She had a grown woman spirit, like all you know how they say, "Oh, she been here
Mm.
before." Baby, she was sitting there like, nigga, what? Been there,
Wow.
done that. As a baby, as a 9 month old baby. So I
Wow.
can imagine. I would definitely say, forget what research. I would definitely say the same thing would happen to a little girl as well. Yeah.
Wow. That's bad.
Yeah, that's
Mm.
deep. That's super deep. That's
Yeah,
really
it
deep.
is.
I'm not gonna even. We ain't gonna even get on the whole Hollywood kid thing right now. We just gonna keep. We just gonna
I
keep it
know.
funky.
I know.
We just gonna keep it funky and keep it moving. We just gonna.
I feel like Hollywood might want to give it us and get some of these stories because these stories are made only for Hollywood because people really wouldn't believe the trauma, the traumatic experiences that people have endured.
And
And
go ahead.
now, I was just going to say, survivors,
Yes.
and that's the beauty about survivors. I always like to refer, when I think about hardship, struggles, sorrow, pain, grief, loss, all those things bring you to the edge of destruction. And I
Yeah.
always like to roll back to a time when I saw Will Smith on the Oprah Winfrey Show.
Uh huh.
And he stated, and in his words, quote unquote, he stated that greatness lives on the edge of destruction.
Ooh, talk, sir.
Right?
And
that was
that's the
such a
truth.
mouthful.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
and when I heard that, I was in that moment, I was criminalized. I was a black trans woman in a male's prison.
Mm.
I was the target of every type of abuse, crime, harm
Mm.
that a person could project.
Mhm.
And
Wow.
I heard him say that on the Oprah show, and that did so much for me. And I always remember that there's
Yes.
greatness on the edge of destruction.
And
And I
that's the
tell you,
truth.
as a black woman, because I identify as a black woman, you
Mhm.
know, it is what it is. It doesn't
Mhm.
get any better than this.
Mhm.
And um, the experiences that are up against the black woman, the black
Yes.
and brown woman.
Mhm.
Don't get me wrong, my non-black and brown women, they too have witnessed,
Oh
you know.
yes.
Like one time I was reading some research and it was talking about serial killers and violent crimes, and that black people are really not the largest number of violent crimes,
We
serial
really
killers
aren't.
and people who have committed murder. Um, and it struck me because I was like, wow, you're right. I see some of these stories and I read some of these stories and I'm like, wow, these women, though, are always at the center. And now, as in the 21st century, but it's been going on for a long time because you remember the war on drugs, right?
Mhm.
And you
Mhm.
remember at the war during the war on drugs, you could be sitting at the light.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
could be in the club, you could be in the mall. You know, it was just like crazy, crazy.
Yeah. Yeah.
And we witnessed families being ripped apart. We
Mhm.
witnessed children being sent to the DCFS, sent to all these group homes and foster homes and different things like that.
Yeah.
And I brought that up right now because of just where we are as people, like black and brown people, like our communities is just under fire, and it's interpersonal and it's state.
Mhm.
And our communities aren't catching a break. And women,
Mm.
women, my belief is that
Yes.
when women heal, children are
Mhm.
safe, communities are safe.
It's like my guest. It's like my guest said last weekend or last Friday, that you can teach a man and you can teach a man something and you'll just be teaching that man. But when you teach a woman something, you're literally teaching a nation. So the
You teach.
breakdown of woman is very prevalent in America and has been for I'm not in America, just in the on the planet, and has been
Yes,
for a very, very long time, because when you break down woman, a household, you can always tell a household that doesn't have a woman's presence, right?
yes,
And you can, so getting back to like the war on drugs, when there's a woman that's on drugs in the household, you can feel that,
mhm,
that. When
yes,
there is a woman who is not at her best and at herself, you can feel that.
yes,
Whatever it is about us as women, we know, well, the godship of woman, that's what I claim.
yes.
The
The
godship of woman. When
godship.
you if you can break that woman down, it's like it's no good. No, nothing good will come from that. So that's the
Yes,
truth. I want to go back to when you said that you were kicked out of high school for
yes,
transitioning. Tell us in your senior year. So you had gone 3 years of being an
just
openly gay male.
openly gay.
Okay. And I know that was because that was back in the 80s, right? Or
Yes,
early 90s, ladies. Okay. And
87, 88, 89, 90, 91.
okay. And during that time, well, obviously it's not as acceptable as it is now, but nevertheless, it was still kind of like, okay, there's this thing. So you went 3 years. My thing is that you went 3 years of being an openly gay man. And what can we say what school that is?
Oh, yes, Roger G. Sullivan. Roger C.
Okay.
Sullivan. And my principal at the time was Dr. Brazil. I bust him out. And my dance teacher name was Deidre Dawson. Um, and Miss Cook was also one of the gym teachers. And it was like Dr. Brazil asked Deidre Dawson and Miss Cook, like, what can you all do anything with him? Misgendered me and
Mm.
everything, but he was like, can you all
Mm.
handle him? Can you all take care of him this year? And the two women said, no, I don't want anything to do with him.
Even the dance teacher?
Even the dance teacher, she was always vicious, though. She was
Really?
always vicious.
That's just because you was vicious with your dance, because you could outdance her, because ain't nowhere in the world she's supposed to be vicious.
She
A
was
dance
vicious.
teacher?
A dance teacher said, "No, I don't want anything to do with him." And
Wow.
I was literally kicked out, and I was stunned. But we always had this thing about in black spaces where
Mm-hmm.
women
Come on.
women would
Women.
introduce bullshit, violence, harm, lies, treachery to the space,
Mm-hmm.
and
Mm-hmm.
subject that upon an individual, direct that toward a certain individual, all because the woman Don't like you.
That's it. That's it.
Don't
The
like you.
most vicious, the most vicious entity on the planet is a woman who has a is a woman with a vendetta and a
A woman
woman
with a
who does
vendetta.
not like you. If a woman, if that woman doesn't like you or a woman doesn't like you, you
Yes,
can forget about it because she owns you. And she's going to
exactly.
do everything in her power to make sure that A, you know it, and B, that she can show it. And that's the truth. But I don't understand. So, what was their conversation? Did they talk to you? Did they talk to your parents?
No, they didn't talk to my parents.
How did they
They didn't
find
talk to
out?
my parents. They called me over the loudspeaker.
Oh,
I wouldn't answer to the call over the loudspeaker because I was at my locker. I was getting my life. All the people that, talked to me, associated with me, all my little, my little locals in my locker area, they was checking me out because, bitch, I came in there serving them. I had my
I know.
salt and pepper wig on. I was
Oh,
ready.
okay.
I had my mini on. I had my rider boots on.
Oh, oh, so you was giving them the, so you had went, okay, wait. Okay, see, you ain't tell us all that. So
Oh,
you was,
yeah. I
so you was,
transitioned.
oh, I get it.
I
Okay,
transitioned.
okay. And you probably, if we would have had social media then, I guarantee you would have been the first case of something like that happening at
Okay.
school. I guarantee you. I guarantee you, if
'Cause
someone was smart enough to put it into like a paper or a newspaper, something like that, I guarantee you, you would have been the first case of that. To be ever so bold to do that,
Okay. Because I
yeah.
really thought I was bold. When I left out that morning, I was ready. I was ready for it. And I was ready for it.
So, so you was ready for them people, and I know,
I was ready.
and
I had
viewers,
my I
you
had
already.
my little Eastbury purse, my little crossbody Eastbury crossbody purse. Honey, I had my little white turtleneck on. Girl, I was so ready for those kids with my big waist belt, my mini. Girl, I was so ready with my riding
Serving the
boots on.
people.
And they were like, you're going to be a distraction for the rest of the students. No
Wow.
teacher is going to be able to teach class. You're going to be a distraction to your peers. Your peers are not going to be able to focus. They're going to be so busy trying to talk to you, be looking at you. And I was like, why would that be my fault?
Then they can't contain themselves. It's my fault.
Because they can't contain themselves. Why would that be my fault? And so I was
Right.
living with my auntie at the time. My mom and my dad and my little brother and sister had moved to Mississippi.
Mm-hmm.
So my auntie was like, well, damn, if you got kicked out of school, there's really nothing else that I can offer. I'm going to send you where your mom and dad is at because being in my house,
Wow.
you need to graduate high school.
Oh
Look,
wow.
looks like you're not going to graduate high school, so I'm going to send you where your mom and dad is now.
Mm.
Because she took me in during my freshman year because she recognized that something is going in on me. And
Mm-hmm.
let's be clear, my auntie was the first person to give me my makeup kit, all colors, blushes,
Good.
bronzers, foundations. She gave me that. And she gave me a lot of more skills too that I would come to learn later in life. But she just
Mm-hmm.
wasn't. She didn't know how to advocate that, or
Mm-hmm.
that's what I'm believing is that she didn't know how to navigate that.
Mm-hmm.
And when I got to Mississippi, where my parents were, and I went to school because hey, I didn't serve one, now I got to serve the next one. And, what the hell? So I goes in light because now I'm in my dad's house. My dad is kind of like, he's one of
Mm-hmm.
those. He's like one of those time bomb fools.
Mhm.
It's a ticking
Mhm.
time bomb with him. So first day I get off the bus, I'm missing eyebrows. You know, eyebrows have been arched. I got this long, long, silly duster that, I had that gave me all this Diane Carroll flair.
Right.
So I was flaming. I had my little hat that you wear with your riding boots, brown hat, had the little black screen. I was ready, girl. So the first
Mhm.
day he took it, he paid it, got me registered for school. It was okay. And then
Mhm.
I had to fight at the school. And once I had the fight, it was over in Mississippi. There was no coming back for me, although the person started it. And it was a
Mhm.
non-black person, non-brown person.
Mhm.
Started off hurling me insults. And before you knew it, you know, I was like, enough is enough. And so I fired on them.
Mhm.
Because let's be real, black people, we get it cracking.
Yes, we do.
Yeah,
And no one had the idea, or I guess, well, it wasn't a thing then, but no one had the idea to sue the school for discrimination.
black people didn't have the knowledge. See, and that's the thing that is so prevalent that we don't talk about is that not all black people had that assertiveness about
Right.
themselves when navigating their legal systems.
Mhm.
Black people
Mhm.
feared their legal systems. And
Mhm.
because they feared their legal systems, non-black people knew, and other black people, that I can pretty much do whatever I want to this person, because
Mhm.
guess what? This person may not even go forward with doing what, using their access to the law.
Yes.
Let's
Yes.
just be real.
Go
Go
ahead.
ahead.
Go ahead. I'm sorry. No. Go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say most black people are not that type. They're not savvy like that, and
Mhm.
in this day and age, it's considered to be snitching.
Yes.
So it's always been a misconcept that the law doesn't work for black people. But I'm a
Right.
firm believer that if you apply the law
Come
properly,
on. Come on.
you
It will
get
work
proper
for you.
results.
Come on. Now that's the truth. That is the truth. Before we go any further, I always like to acknowledge our viewers and acknowledge the viewers that have put something in the comments. So right now, I would like to acknowledge Brother Lateef Williams, and he says, "Hey Queens, just gonna shout Lateef Williams out. Lateef is a very, very gifted writer, producer, director, actor in the city of Chicago. He
Okay.
also has his own clothing line or his own shoe line. I believe it's his own shoe line. You can find him on Facebook by just typing in Lateef Williams, Lateef Williams.
Okay.
He and I have worked together before on some things. And just want to, I always like to shout out whoever is gracious enough to come on to our platforms or come on to our the pod, what I call a pod slash broadcast. Just like
Right.
to shout them out because they could be anywhere else in the world, but they decide to come and hang out with us. So hello, good evening, Lateef. So getting back to
Shout them
get,
out.
getting yeah.
Let's bring it in. Come
Getting
on
back
in here,
to
y'all.
right, come on in here. Um, you mentioned, so you answered my question because I was gonna say I know that you were openly gay, but at what point did you decide or did you feel that you were woman? So somewhere between junior year and senior year, in that
It
in
was
that summer, it
it
was
was
hot in
on
that
and
summer, huh?
popping. It was
This
on
is
and
this
popping.
is who I am. This is what it is, and I applaud you for going for yours.
And
Honestly,
I
like
tell
that.
you, once I put that makeup on, once I broke out of that closet, out of that hiding,
Yes,
it just felt so right. And
and
it was like, I'm not gonna turn back because this
and
is who I am. So I want to say that. And
mm-hmm,
I don't suggest to anybody who is like in the closet struggling with identity issues, to do what I did,
Mm-hmm.
because it may not be for you.
It may
But I
not be
would
for you.
tell any person that if this is something that you're thinking about, this is something that you have thoughts with, or you have children or nieces or nephews, someone in your
Yeah.
community, um,
Yeah.
give them the space to be open with you and
Mm-hmm.
support them in identifying with who they are. Because
Mm-hmm.
if you support them in identifying with who they are,
Mm-hmm.
they will find out if it's a phase or not and push it to the wayside or push it forward or leave it back. So
Mm-hmm.
create the space for them for that, but also too create the space for them for that so that they don't have to be a casualty, so that they don't have to be hurt and harmed by the dogs and cats that are hanging out
Mm-hmm.
in the alleys because you pushed them out. Don't
Mm.
throw your children away. Love
Right.
your children. Nurture your children. Your nieces and your nephews. Love them. Don't throw them away. Because
Mm-hmm.
when you throw them some away, they become someone else's trash. What do they call it? Someone else's trash becomes someone
Someone
else's
else's
treasure.
treasure. Mm-hmm.
Don't let the praise.
One
Don't
person's
let the
trash
praise
becomes
do that.
another person's. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Yes.
Um, you talk about you said something about you went to church every Sunday with a family member on
Yeah.
your with another family member on your block. Let's
Yeah.
talk about that whole gay church thing, because you know that's my thing. You know what I'm saying? Let's talk about that. Going, how was it going to church um, as an openly gay male? I'm not talking about St. James, because we
Uh-huh.
understand that was where it was at in the city of Chicago. I love Bishop Campbell, but we all know
Yeah.
that his church was the hub for homosexuals.
For
Bishop.
me, going to church was like going for punishment. Going
Mm,
to church was like a crucifixion. Going to
mm,
church meant shame.
mm,
Going to church meant rejection and whispers.
mm.
And I remember being in a line for some food at someone's church.
Uh-huh.
And because I was too close to the food, it was a problem that I needed to bag back.
Mm.
You
They
bag
didn't
back.
want that.
You're
They didn't want that spirit over their food.
over their food
They
because
didn't
if
want
that
that
spirit got in
homosexual
their
spirit over
food,
their food. They was all gonna be homosexual.
they was all gonna be doing it, right? So
Uh
I
huh.
was like, oh,
Mhm.
okay. Um,
Mhm.
and I remember being in church also and
Mhm.
being totally humiliated by a pastor a few times, having
Mhm.
them pour a bottle of olive oil on my head, holy oil on my head. I've had pastors speak directly to me from the
Mhm.
pulpit.
Mm.
The whole sermon become about homosexuality. All the
Mhm.
cis people, quote unquote, all the heterosexuals in the church, other than me, even the closet gays, the closet lesbians, they would all be clapping and yeah,
Mhm.
egging it on. But I would be totally freaking embarrassed to be sitting in church and thinking that this was a safe space for
Yeah.
me to come in and open up, worship,
Mhm.
fellowship,
None of
join
that.
the choir, play music, join the musician team, do something. But I never thought in a million years that I would walk in church and be persecuted for my
which is
identity.
which is the biggest hypocritical movement ever, because I have seen there is not a church that I have been to in the city of Chicago, and I've been a lot of places in the city of Chicago, in the city of Madison, Wisconsin, in the city of Valdez, Alaska, in the city of Los Angeles, California. There
Yeah.
has not been a place, there has not been a church that I have not been to where either the musician, the especially the choir director. let's just deal with that. There has never been a church that I've been to, I don't think, where the choir director hasn't been a homosexual.
Okay.
Or there, I've been in some we used to have these musicals and these concerts, and like the whole choir was gay.
Yeah.
The whole tenor section was gay. And it's just like I don't understand how that I don't understand that hypocrisy. You will be in church and you'll be in a church where all these homosexuals are, and yet that's the topic of the day. I don't get that. I don't understand that at all. And then pastors and bishops and reverends, I'm talking to y'all now. Where is the love? Homosexuality is not the only quote quote sin that there is in the world. I think why pastors choose to pick on, if I can use that, I think why pastors choose to talk about that is because that is supposed to be a quote quote sin that you can see, that is out in the open. But there are several things that people are doing behind the scenes. Your sexuality, your thing is right here in front. That's like someone going to church, tooting cocaine in the middle of the aisle, or
Mhm.
shooting up dope or whatever, or stealing from the offering or something like that. But homosexual, but when they leave the church, your stuff might not be out and about. But what are you doing when you leave? What are you doing when you leave church? What you doing when you get home? Because that same pastor who poured all that oil all over your body was a raging alcoholic and was coming to church drunk as a skunk on several occasions. And yes, I said it. If you got a problem with
And
it, call me. And so,
I like to believe that I like to add that church
where's the
is like
love in that?
it's like a comedy. It's like a comedian. A comedian, in order for a comedian to have a great
Doing
night,
shows. They have to
uh,
have an audience.
uh,
They have to have an audience.
they got to have an audience, and in that out of that audience, they pick their target,
Yes.
and they
Yes.
go in on their target.
Yes. And I hate that those are weak ass comedians, because if your whole show is choosing someone in the audience to go on, that means you ain't got no material.
But this is what
That's what that
happened.
means. That's what that means.
And
That's
this
what
is
that
what
means.
happened. And in times of targeting people in ways that is bashing and shaming, body
Mm-hmm.
shaming, when you target people that way and you get other people to start looking like, you give other people a scapegoat to say, "Oh, so glad that
Uh-huh.
ain't me."
Okay.
You
Okay.
know,
They feel better about their shit.
yeah, and so they egg it on, and
Mm-hmm.
because this keeps the spotlight off of they raggedy ratchet tail, monkey tail. This keep the traffic off of them. So
Come on.
they egg that kind of stuff on, and then we also know too that people are oppressed people
Mm-hmm.
prey on oppressed people.
Mm-hmm. That's the
And we
truth.
know that, bullies,
Come on.
bullies
Bully.
are in all shapes and sizes, and they
Yes.
got positions all over the world.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And big positions too, which is why they can do that. Which is why a lot of our black men are being killed by police officers, because the police in that time is being a bully.
Yes.
I believe like Trump, uh, Trump is who he is, but at times he has been a bully. I'm not talking about his presidency. I'm talking about just because he got bread, just because he's had the money. Some people who are in power, they're bullies.
Exactly.
Anyway, so you went through all of that because we're at the 1 hour mark, and I kind of want to wind down because we
Mm.
talked about some serious stuff. But you went through all that. You were criminalized. You were in the jail system, and then you made your turnaround. So
I did.
let's talk about your turnaround. Let's talk about your organization. Let's talk
Mm.
about the inspiration for your organization. What you do, what you doing now that you did that. what are you doing now? How
So
can we
right
get in
now,
touch with you? What are you doing?
we're in our second year at Triumphant Together. The
Okay.
number two, the letter GETHER.org. And we're an
Mm-hmm.
organization that prioritizes healing of Black women,
Okay.
brown women. We believe all women. We don't focus on identity as far as identity politics, trans
Mm-hmm.
only, cis only, lesbian only. It's about all women.
Mm-hmm.
We prioritize
Mm-hmm.
healing for those women. And what we
Mm.
believe is that healing starting at when a woman is healed, as we mentioned earlier.
Yes.
When women heal,
Mm-hmm.
there's power in the healing of women because also
Yes.
women are the intercessors of everything that is happening around them. They are
Mm-hmm.
going to be like the hub. Everything that is
Mm.
happening around them must come through them. And
Yes.
that is the magical power of a woman to me. But in order for a woman to be good in that magic, she has to be healed.
She
Because
does.
if you're hurting, if you're hurting, you're gonna put out hurt. If you don't
Mm-hmm.
put out hurt, you're gonna neglect someone that was hurt.
Mm-hmm.
You're not going to be on it. And then we have a program that focuses on job readiness, professional development. And that's a program that happens virtually. Everything is
Okay.
happening virtually right now, but you can send us
Mm-hmm.
an email at info, asking us questions about, hey, I have an upcoming interview. It's an interview with a law firm. I'm going in to be a legal clerk, a paralegal. How
Mm-hmm.
should I dress? How do my resume look? They ask for a cover letter. Is this a good cover
Mm-hmm.
letter? We can offer
Mm-hmm.
those kind of skills
This
via
this is
email.
a job readiness program
Yes.
that your organization offers. Okay.
Yes. And then we also focus on women that may be a little bit more ambitious, a little bit more subtle, and ready to take on the responsibilities of starting their own business entities. And so,
Good.
in that, we kind of like, we're not doing the work for them, but we are supporting them with identifying the work and moving forward with the work. So that means your
Mm-hmm.
incorporations, your bylaws and all those different things like that. HR, business,
Mm-hmm.
we connecting people with the people, but also too we offer the basic steps to start that
Mm.
business entity up. And again, I like to say that we don't do the work for nobody. We support you and we do
The
the work
work.
together.
Right,
Exactly.
right.
We do it together.
Exactly.
And then
Exactly.
we also do court support. And court support is when we support defendants
Mm-hmm.
appear before the court in ways that is powerful. It influences a fair trial. It influences the defendant to actually know what they're being charged with. What's the
Uh-huh.
consequences of any type of conviction, whether it be a conviction through a plea or a trial, bench
Mm-hmm.
trial or jury trial. And then we make sure that people are aware of dress code. There's a certain dress code when you're going before
Mm-hmm.
the judge, when you're going before the court. We focus on that, and then we also mobilize the community and the family that they have to show
Mm-hmm.
presence with them because that also has an impact that is felt throughout the court, to
Yes.
show that this person is not alone. You're not going to be able to do anything you want to them. You're not going to be able to send them to prison. We're not going for that. And then also
Mm-hmm.
thinking about people's character letters. Um,
Yes.
and so I guess the biggest takeaway from it is that we aim to reduce the numbers of people incarcerated.
Good.
hmm
Good. Good.
And that's where we are right now. We have a long
Mm-hmm.
term mission, and we're moving there. We are in our second year, as I said, and it's a beautiful project. It started in Providence, Rhode Island. I'm
Awesome.
actually I am a survivor of a sexual assault that happened through film. Someone was trying to actually record me, someone I was dating. And I like to say that for
What?
women that are dating or courting, and people are asking you about sending pics. Almost, do you remember that celebrity Tierra Marie?
No, I don't. I can't say that I
Well,
do.
Tierra Marie, she was like one of the characters on Love and Hip Hop, and
Okay.
she was dating this guy, and it was said that this guy had recorded her in a sexual uncompromising
Mm.
position,
Mm.
and for a lot of people, we take that for granted because people actually, this is a thing in this day and age.
Mm.
Um, and it happened to me, and there was no resources for me as a Black woman. People started victim blaming, victim shaming because
Mhm.
I was a trans woman, or because I was a Black woman that had been criminalized. People kind
Mhm.
of like expected me and demanded me to sweep it under the rug.
Yes.
And
Yes.
it was like at that time, my life, my future, my safety, my reputation,
Didn't
my
matter.
dignity, it didn't matter as a Black
Mhm.
woman. And so
Mhm.
I said I need a space for women to be able to break silence and not be subjected to targeting, victim blaming and shaming. So that's why we created healing circles.
Good, good. Now these healing circles, are they how do those healing circles work? I'm asking because there is a woman by the name of Hadaya Bar is I think it's Hadaya Barbell. You can find her on Instagram.
Okay.
And well, I think on I'm not sure on Facebook, but I know I follow her on Instagram. And what she was doing at one time, she was going around the world having
Mm,
these healing circles with all of these women. She's from New York, so she started in New York, but then she came to Los Angeles, California. I'm
mm.
not sure if she was in. I don't know if she has like relocated to Los Angeles, California, because it
Okay.
seems as though like she's been there for a while. But she was doing that, so that might be something that you um, would be interested in, especially. Well, I mean, it's COVID-19. I keep forgetting about COVID-19.
Right. So we're doing things online,
Go online still, right, right.
still
But I'm
having
just
onlines. And so what that looks like is basically coming together with a group of people, and you want to try to keep your numbers at a minimum, no more than 21. If you want to
right.
be have a real intimate
Intimate.
session, you
Mm-hmm.
create your theme. The group creates some, and the conversation just goes around in a circle, and it
Mm-hmm.
goes around in a circle enough times so that the hope is that one, people can improve communication skills.
Mm-hmm.
People can break their silence.
Mm-hmm.
People can be affirmed. People can be, people can even be acknowledged.
Mm-hmm.
And most of all, it also we can get a long ways, we can get far if we're willing to engage each other in active communication that doesn't target, doesn't victim blame, doesn't shame, doesn't police my tone, my body language. And that's something that I notice a lot that happened to marginalized communities. When you
Mm-hmm.
start trying to have a conversation about serious things, someone
Mm-hmm.
wants to shut the conversation down. Someone wants to be aggressive. Someone wants to tell the next person how they should talk, how they shouldn't talk. And my thing is that when people are able to talk, and we're in a
Mm-hmm.
it's a heat it's a situation, it's something that needs to be shared. You
Mm-hmm.
gotta give grace and move around, make space for that person to share, to talk,
Right.
to get it
Exactly.
out. Because if
Yeah.
you don't get it out, what happens is it stands the chance of festering on the inside, and that becomes bitterness.
Hmm.
You don't want
And
to walk around with bitterness.
bitterness and hurt, and then what it does is, like you said, hurt people, and they continue
Exactly.
this
Cycle.
pattern and this cycle of
Yes.
hurt, and nothing gets resolved from
No,
hurt people. So
exactly.
well, Monica James, aka
Wow.
Pumpkin, aka one of my favorite cousins. Ah, we didn't tell y'all that, did we, audience? Yeah, that's my cuz right there. I have enjoyed this conversation. It is definitely needed. I definitely enjoyed the breaking up of the monotony of problematic and uncomfortable conversations and that I have been having on my page. They say that the whole conspiracy thing, whatever. I brought you something different tonight, so I thank you for being a guest on my show. Again, give us the Triumphant's website. It's triumphant two the
Yes.
letter the number two together.org.
No, so it's triumphant together.
Okay.
Triumphant, the number two, the letter GETHER.org. And you can find us there, as well as you can find us on social media. The number
Okay.
two, gather, triumphant together. And thank you so much for having me on here.
Absolutely, absolutely. It was a pleasure. I enjoyed it. We got through some
Yes.
things, and now the world knew who you were already, but now my
Already.
viewers know who you are, and now
Yes,
your viewers know who I am. So, with that
exactly.
being said, we are going to end this pod
Thank
broadcast. We're
you.
here every Friday, usually normally around 7 p.m. It's been 7 p.m. for the past couple of weeks, but that can vary. But nevertheless, we're here every Friday evening, 7 p.m. Central Standard Time. Join us, subscribe to our Facebook pages, subscribe to our social medias, definitely subscribe to the YouTube channel, and tune in every every Friday. So Kane said, I don't know if you know what Kane M said, love this. And then Kane said, bye, Monica. So
Bye
whoever Kane
bye.
is, thank you for joining in. We love you. We appreciate you. Catch us next Friday at 7 p.m. It's Down the Rabbit Hole with KD. Peace and love,
Peace.
and take care, people. Bye bye.